that can bring back.
Give these neighbors across the river from the kitchens.
Yeah.
We love that already.
Yeah.
They're so nice. Yeah.
I had you.
They get right.
Doesn't call my eye. Doesn't call my eye. I bet for my dog.
We're ready. We're ready.
Y'all are ready. Y'all are ready.
Good evening, everybody. We'll call this meeting to order. Job done here. For watch the break, right? Just supported that. I'm just supporting. They didn't win with the 3 years. They lost that. Please stand with me for a word of prayer. Turn God our Father, once again, we're bowing our thanking you for life, health, and strength, for allowing us to come together to do the kind of business. Father, we thank you for life, we thank you for health, strength. Father, we ask you to bless us entire world. Father, we know that you are the one. Gives us power. That takes care of us. Be so careful. Give you all the honor and glory. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. All right. I'd like to welcome everyone tonight to September the 5th business meeting. First on the agenda, I guess, is approval of minutes of August 1st, 2023, our regular business meeting, and the minutes of August 2023 public hearing meeting. I think most of you have it. Have seen it, have read it. I get a motion to approve the minutes of August 1st and August 15th. I'll make a motion to approve. We have a motion to approve. Second with Cynthia. Any comments, discussions? All right. Yes. Minutes stand approved for August 1st and August 15th. New business. Discussion of zoning application for September the 19th, 2023 public hearing. This point we'll hear from Ms. Tracy as she goes through them.
Okay, first up, we have Sunny Dinsmore, applicant for his wife, Rebecca Dinsmore, and he is requesting to rezone a 4-acre portion from 14.5 acres from A1 to AR to allow it to be split off for a home site for their daughter and to rezone the remaining 10.5 acres from A1 to A2 to bring it into zoning regulations. Property is located at 0 Highway 106 North, in Danielsville on map 37, parcel 3-01, in District 2. It's not yet been assigned the vacant lot. The vacant lot got zero there. Currently, the property is non-conforming. 14 acres in an A1 zone. I had to handle this as a dual rezone. They are desiring to cut 4 acres off for their daughter. And then that would leave them a balance of 10.65 acres not being plugged with A1, so that it goes to 18.
All right. Any discussion, any questions on this particular rezone request?
Is there already an easement on that, or is it, they're gonna make an easement to go to the backside of the property?
Making one.
Yeah, there's no easements on the property right now.
30-foot drive easement is for what they have on the proposed site plan.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Comments?
Yeah, I seen where it's got 159.83 road frontage.
Mm-hmm.
Is that included in the easement or not?
I believe that is included. Yes, sir. Let me look at that real quick. Yes, it is.
According to the map, it is.
Mm-hmm. Odd-shaped tract of land.
All right, any further? Hearing none. Number 2.
All right, next up is Sandra Miller, and she is requesting to rezone her 28.35 acres from A1 to AR to allow the property to be divided into 4 parcels of 4.027, 8.036, 4.009, and 13.19 acres for inheritance purposes. Property is located at 3954 Highway 106 North in Danielsville on map 36, parcel 54 in District 2. And Ms. Miller she's handling this trust. And they originally wanted to do 6 splits because there's 6 kids. But since our ordinance will not allow over 3 splits for a total of 4 parcels, she kind of had to get what she could take, and has narrowed it down to those 4 lots with the acreage that was listed. There is 1.65 acres that was lost due to road widening, so that's why there's a little bit of a variation from the acreage. That's why they're not adding up, but it's just all for inheritance purposes. I think it's from their mother's estate. And there was no plat available for this, so we had to accept the deed. And that's where the acreage was, as far as what the deeds are saying, that's where it was determined 1.65 was lost due to road frontage.
Of course, it passed, this, for instance, if this is, rezone request is granted, down the road, can they come back with this 13.19 acres and ask for an additional split later years?
Yes, in 3 years they can do that.
Okay.
answers my question. Any questions, comments on this particular one?
In the larger splits there, the 6 one that has the buildings on it, that, what is that?
Well, there's one home and then there's 6 storage buildings throughout the whole 28 acres, so I guess they just.
I guess that's it, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And is that, okay. Doesn't matter, it's not important, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anything further? Moving on.
All right. Number 3, we have Jerome Stratton Jr. He goes by Bubba, by the way. Applicant for his wife Jessica Stratton is requesting to rezone her 8.95 acres from A1 to A2 to allow an unequal land swap with his uncle of 3.5 acres for 6.43 acres with adjoining parcel map 74 parcel 150A, creating a total of 11.88 acres. Property is located at 275 Little Light Trail in Royston on map 74 parcel 16 in District 4. And I might go ahead and read the second one because they're kind of together.
Okay.
But there were 2 different owners, so I couldn't combine them into one application. But Jerome Stratton Jr. is applicant for his uncle Jeff Stratton is requesting to rezone a 6.43 acre portion from his A1 to A2 to allow an unequal land swap with his nephew of 6.43 acres for 3.5 acres with that adjoining parcel, map 74, parcel 16, creating a total of 36.19 acres, which will stay in the A1 zone. Property is located at 49 Little Light Trail in Royston on map 74, parcel 15B in District 4. And basically, it's a nephew and an uncle that have adjoining properties. The uncle does not live on that property. He lives in Clayton. But they're just doing an unequal land swap due to the terrain of the area. The Jessica Stratton, they're wanting to build a shop, her husband is. And due to the terrain, it's just not feasible on that, so they're having to get 6.43 acres from the uncle, and in exchange, they're giving the uncle only 3.5 acres. But they work that out amongst themselves. The property, and then the uncle's benefiting because he needs more storage area on his property. So he was good with just getting the 3.5 acres. This was very confusing to try to condense into one little paragraph, but I did the best I could with it. Now there is currently has an easement to access the property through 2 parcels, the dad's and the uncle's. So the new land swap will improve that situation, and the easement will only have to go through 1 parcel versus 2.
That's like a good one.
Yeah. But really it's easy once you get past all the gibberish over on there. It's just swapping 6.43 for 3.5.
Questions?
Is Little Light Trail a county road?
I believe it is. I don't know that for a fact. I can
And
look.
Little Light Drive is as well?
See, oh, okay, thank you. It may just be a private drive.
So Little Light Drive is a county road that splits off right there, and the only reason why is I was out there last Friday.
Oh.
With the neighbors. But if y'all go to look at it, the pavement does end right there. It's dirty, but there's a stop sign with a little light trail right to the, and then that, Aaron, Brown Road continues off to your right and, dead ends. I think it's a Christian camp facility at the backside there.
Very good.
How are you able to determine that?
One from being there, two, the county sign on it has a county road number on it.
Like when we look at it at Q Public, if it's in yellow, does that mean
Nope.
anything?
No.
Okay.
Q Public with a pinch of salt. If you have a question about a road, call us. We'll verify with the county road map book before it. Because there are a lot of private drives that did elect to pay for a name, and they'll be blue. If it's a private drive, it's a blue sign versus.
You don't have to scold me, I'm just asking a
I'm
question.
telling you. I'm telling you. You're not colorblind, are you, William? I might have to start putting dots on some for you.
This is a government function, be careful with your disabilities, okay?
All right,
We'll make sure our road signs are handicapped.
Thank you.
Very good. Any further questions? All right.
All right, and the next two is kind of the same situation. So with your permission, I can read both of them.
Go right ahead.
Okay. Kenneth Branyan is requesting to rezone his 7.75 acres from A2 to AR to allow a 1.394 acre split to be sold to the adjoining property owner, which is on map H1, parcel 107A, to straighten up property lines and for desired wooded area, leaving a balance of 6.356 acres. Property is located at 205 Charlie Bolton Road in Hull on map H1, parcel 107 in District 3. And then the neighbor that they're doing this land swap with, or this land sale, I should say, Kenneth Branyan, applicant for his neighbor Mike Dumont, is requesting to rezone his 1.15 acres from A2 to AR to allow him to absorb acres from adjoining property H1 107 to straighten up property lines and to acquire desired wooded area for a total of 2.54 acres. Now, I will say this one was one that was taken in before that rule changed in May. We only have a few of those left. They're dwindling out. So that's the reason for him only having the 2.544 acres. That property is located at 180 Charlie Bolton Road in Hull, map H1, parcel 107A in District 3.
Ms. Tracy, I think that's the only one this month, right? That's
Yes.
before, and then we only have one next month.
Right.
That was before, and then we'll be out of the moratorium and overflow.
Yes, so that was one that we have to honor that way. But,
So at the moment, does he only have 1.15 acres?
yes, sir. Let me look.
So-
So he's non-conforming, of course, in an A2 zone.
So he, in other words, he has to acquire this 1.394 to even come up to the 2 acre.
Right. And the topography of the land, and I guess you could see on your site plan, it just straightens things up. It straightens that property line up, and there's some desired wooded area that Mr. Dumont is wanting.
questions on this particular one?
I'm assuming Charlie Bolton Lane is a county road.
Yes, sir.
In looking at this particular plat, Charlie Bolton Lane is here, and then it's got the easements across both of the properties right here, and it says 25 feet. Usually it's 30. Is there a minimum?
Very, very old. Road coming through there, single lane dirt. Chicken yard at the back of it.
So we wouldn't require 30.
There's, several out there in the county that are only 20. That was before council came and cracked the whip.
Additional questions? All right. Number 7.
Okay. Number 7, Tonda Martin, applicant for Michael and Kip Martin and Missy Huff, they're siblings. And this is kind of, their parents' land, they're trying to divide it, but, she is requesting to rezone his 1.15, I'm sorry, excuse me. It's requesting to rezone an 11-acre portion of the 48.04 acres from A1 to A2 to allow 11 acres with an existing home to be split off for siblings. The remaining 37.04 acres will stay in the A1 zone, and they are planning to sell that. The property is located at 1910 Lim Edwards Road in Culvert on map 47, parcel 87 in District 5. And so there is, like I say, this was an estate, and there's 3 siblings involved. It's 48 acres, and they had decided, since the sister already lived on the property, they were going to cut her out 11 acres for her to keep and stay there. She has an existing easement through adjoining property, map 47, parcel 77, off McCurley Road. They will be selling the remaining 37.04 acres. So the rezone is to just rezone the 11 acres to A2, and then that 37.04 will stay A1, as that would be conforming. Oh, and it is in Cuba, but the Cuba will be up January 1st of 24, so they're not going to sell this and do the plat until after, so they will not breach that contract.
Still within that 6 months.
Gotcha.
Bruce?
Mr. Patrick, the easement runs out, she accesses her land through McCurley Road,
Yes, sir.
and the address is Lim Edwards Road?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, that property address is, but yeah, so she goes off of McCurley Road through that adjoining property.
Okay.
Once it's, if it's approved and everything after Cuba, she'll have to get with 911 to be issued a new address for that dwelling. The parent parcel will keep the Lim Edwards, and then she'll be required to get them.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Yes, sir.
The additional questions, comments?
So there is a legal easement from McCurley Road over to the 11 acres across that one parcel.
Yes, sir.
If y'all go to look at it, that's the easier way in from the easement to get to the home.
Any other questions? Moving on, number 8.
Okay, number 8, Katie Barber, applicant for her grandfather, Billy Henson, is requesting to rezone his 3.05 acres from A1 to R1 to bring the property non-conforming property into compliance and to allow for a 1.5 acre split to give this granddaughter to build a home on. Property is located at 3311 Adams Clark Road in Danielsville on map 13, parcel 14A in District 1. Now, this is a 3 acre tract, and they're just wanting to divide it straight down the middle. There currently is a mobile home. Actually, there's 2 mobile homes on it. The gentleman, the grandfather, is wanting to give his granddaughter an acre and a half so she can build a home on it. And there is an existing mobile home that was just permitted to be put on the property, but then there was one that's supposed to be replacing that. So one of them's got to go. The older one's got to go. It has not been removed yet because they've not reached their final inspection through the building inspection side. So you will see 2 homes there, but one of them will be moved. So he actually rents that lot out to a person that's kind of like family to him, and she's been there many, many years. So it'll just be an even split down the middle. And this is our first R1 request. But in this case, it's actually bringing it into compliance because it's a very much non-conforming A1 zone.
No, big A1.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I can go ahead and say this now. I'm having trouble grasping with our new comp plan. This is the first one that I guess we've dealt with. This is clearly a residential zone being requested in a clearly agricultural area or character area on the map. And I can appreciate what the applicant's trying to do here. And I've also thought if this were a 20-acre parcel and they wanted to slice off an acre and a half, I don't think we would allow that. And I don't see, personally, I don't see how we can do that and honor the comp plan even in this situation. I'd like to hear from others. I didn't know if you all had thought about how much thought you put into this, but in considering the comp plan, it's just, we got to make some hard, fast decisions somewhere.
That's a good point, but if we don't do anything, the land remains A1 with 3 acres.
It is non-conforming A1.
Lawfully non-conforming.
I feel like we're about to get bombarded with R1s.
You are. I've been taking applications. I'm on my 83rd application for this year, and the last several of them have been R1. It won't show up to you guys until about November.
Just for curiosity, I mean, this one, there's, I guess, existing homes, but really and truthfully, they're going to be essentially changing the aspect of the land. They're going to be putting new places.
Right. She's planning to build a home, and then the existing home is going to stay.
And but the other ones that you talk about, the slew of them that's headed our way, are they pretty much people that own the land, have houses, and they're finding themselves
for their children, wanting to give land to their children, and I've had one just want to sell it.
And there are parcels around this that are small parcels, some are 1 acre or maybe even less. I forgot. But still.
Well, we got to take into consideration the comp plan, but also, I guess, for our consideration, when someone just give us what an A2 actually is, AR, A2, what do we consider as far as A2? Everybody have that handy?
A2 is.
You talking about land use or?
Yes.
Land use, intense agriculture, that does not include a CAFO. So any form of agriculture that's not a calf feeding barn, a, chicken house, a hog parlor,
Feedlot.
feedlot, all that's they do. Anything else.
I have a legal question. Hypothetically speaking, like the first one, I was having problems with, the one that wanted to split off 6 for her kids. She wants to split off 4, but she has 6 kids. So that would, I mean, if I was one of the 6 kids, I'd be upset that everybody else can get theirs, but I can't get mine if I was not in that split. And I know the county is trying to bring everything into compliance and try to bring and have a plan for this county the way that they see fit, but what legally, because I would probably want to come to the county and try to do something for the county for making these laws that keeps my family members from.
Now, go Mike, you want to take that? There might be also money set up with it. I know when I inherited a good portion of our family's property, my sister and my other first cousin didn't want the property, and so instead of selling it up, my grandfather had in his will first right of refusal. So I used money I inherited to buy the land from my siblings. But if you look at it, only my sister and my first cousin didn't get any from the grandparent. No, they got a large sum of money, and I got the property. And that may be some situations here that they discussed as a family to work around with it. Now, if all 6 of them wanted property to build a home site on or something like that, definitely in that hypothetical, they want to come to the county, but a lot of cases, the families work it out amongst themselves, like we did.
Right.
There's nothing to say that they can't apply for 6 splits, but it's gonna fall into a major subdivision.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So we're really forcing families to do things like, that's extra money. You know how much you have to put roadway and everything for subdivision? I was just curious.
But then you have to weigh out the family over the developer coming in as well, just because it's family owned. If a developer bought it and they all got their portion, and, say the 6 splits and they went into major subdivision, it was a developer instead of a family. The developer would have to follow it. The family's got to follow the same. If you do it for one, you have to do it for all.
But like when she's coming, we having these families coming to us and they're saying, hey, I want to split this, but you're saying I can't because you made some kind of law or ordinance that telling me now I can't do, and you didn't have this a long time ago when I bought my property and wanted my kids to do this, and yeah, I mean, it's just like, what do you tell this lady?
Are you talking about Miss Miller?
Yeah, now I'm talking about this one too, because this is the R1, like you said, these are R1s in, on the comp plan, it's
Well, the first one is not.
yeah, I know, but this one, I'm just.
The last one is.
But whatever.
So my concern with this first R1 was this sets the standard for, like he just said, if you do one, you do for all. So we really, I feel like we have to really look at our comp plan and stick with it with these R1s coming in.
Mr. Chairman, would it be okay if I ask Mike on how we should?
Our problem, I'm waiting on him to chime in.
Well, I would like to hear, I mean, obviously, we now have adopted the comp plan, so that is our roadmap. And going through the trainings that we have so far, that's kind of the legal precedent that you can utilize if someone wanted to bring litigation forward on something like that. Am I correct?
Correct.
So how would you counsel us to utilize this since we're starting this process with an R1?
So, you know, the factors in litigation are the Google factors, GUHL, an old case back in the 70s, and those are the ones listed in the zoning ordinance and the things you're supposed to consider. Fidelity of the comp plan is one of those. It's not the only one. It's patterns of development, existing uses, a number of things, road capacity, school capacity, all these things. But now, that's the legal side. I'm not a land planner, but my understanding of this is pretty fundamental, is that you zone for what you want to develop in the future. You don't take your zoning map and just fill it up with, just make every little parcel fit whatever it fits under current definitions. That would be a current land use map, not a zoning map. That's why you have lawful non-conforming parcels. I would think, again, not a land planner, that you would not want to zone properties R1 unless they are in the areas where, as your ordinance says, residential district R1 is comprised of lands and structures having a predominantly medium and high density single-family character. Additional undeveloped areas have been included in this district where it appeared likely that similar development would and should occur. So, if this is an area where you want that kind of development to occur in the future, zone it R1. If it's not, which your comp plan says it's not, leave it a lawful non-conforming, whatever it is now.
Ms. Patrick, another quick question. There's 7 small parcels around this land. Or do they have residents on them? And the B1, that's business?
Yeah, we actually, Lee and I looked at that today, and these zoning maps do not get updated. We try to as much as possible, but they're old, and that actually, parcel 12 and 13 has been combined, and it's now showing A2. So, Lee and he pointed that out to me today, and when I went on to Key Public, that's what I found. So, I don't know why it used to be B1, but it's not anymore. It's been combined.
Okay.
So if we did not go according to the land, and this is according to that, now the split, if they weren't gonna sell that part, they can do a special thing, right?
No, they don't have enough land, because you can't have 2 homes on one tract of land in the A1 unless you've got 25 acres.
Okay.
Yeah.
So essentially, if we turn this down, then they're forever going to be a lawfully non-conforming A1.
And she could not come and put a house on it.
No.
So she could only have one house on that whole thing.
So the grandpa would have to decide, does he want to make that lady move so the granddaughter can live on there, or?
Yeah, okay.
That'd be a hard decision, but that would be what the end result would be if it's denied.
The important thing to remember when we're making the decisions with the comp plan in place now is if we choose to go with the comp plan, we have to go with the comp plan. If we choose to, for some reason, adhere otherwise, we can't go back and forth. All of it sets us up for bad legal precedent, right?
Well, if you choose to ignore your comp plan, then one of the primary defenses is gone.
Yeah.
Well, doesn't each individual request stand on its own bottom? In other words, I can't say just because I turned down this one, that this one over here doesn't have any legal.
Yeah, this one's a lightning rod for us, so I think,
Yeah, I mean, this one may be a lightning rod, but there may be another one over here that's.
Might be a lightning strike, yeah. Right in the same community.
So you can't say that just because this one You turn it down, you gotta turn every one down that's in the comp plan area.
Yeah, I think you have to look at them on their own merit, but you've got to be consistent with what you're doing.
With the application of the land use.
Yeah.
When's the last time any of you read section 14.2.4 of the zoning ordinance?
Councilor Reminder.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually pretty easy. You've read it every time because it's the same as this page.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
This is a somewhat expanded list of the Google factors. This is the legal framework. If somebody sues, so let's start first with land use regulation through zoning ordinances and subdivision regulations is constitutional and legal. The government has the power to tell you what you can and can't do with your property within the confines of these considerations. Family members are not one of these, by the way. So when you say each one stands on its individual merit, yes, and these are the factors you apply for that individual merit.
Are the ones that you have coming in, the R1s, are they being advised in the office, Tracy, that according to our comp plan, this
Yes, ma'am.
probably will not go through, or however you phrase
I'm
it?
not allowed to say that, but I do say that it is against the comp plan and, it may not be approved. I can't
Okay,
say.
so they are being advised of it, they
Yes.
are aware that.
But they do have the right to
They
request,
do.
so I have to take all requests.
We are very careful with our verbiage.
Yeah, no, I understand, yeah, we're square on that.
No, you mentioned the analysis of rezoning requests, those questions.
More problematic, if you will.
And one of them that you have here, would approval create an isolated district designation unrelated to adjacent and nearby district designations?
And our chairman, of the Board of Commissioners had told me that there's no such thing as spot zoning anymore, so, that's what he said in one of those classes we had.
Perhaps,
And so that's why I answered no on that.
I got you, all right.
Well, on that first question, what is the existing land use pattern in there? It's got residential and agriculture, so shouldn't that be changed too, just to agriculture instead of residential?
Well, I mean, there's
Residential
homes.
could be considered as R1.
Yeah, well, there's homes and ag all around it, so that's why I had answered that, for the pattern of the area. There's
That's
a lot
what
of
it is.
farmland, yes, it's a lot of houses and farmland, that's why I put that.
So that's a good point though, because if I was coming in, I was the first one I would say, is that first question is residential.
Yeah.
Why can't I put my residence here?
Yeah.
What about the ones you said, looking at the comp plan, so what we have is character areas. What if we've got one that's close to ag, like right there on the line? How do you, that's just,
Yeah,
again, we go through this checklist and stuff, but.
right, so, and that's why the character area map doesn't have parcels, because it is a fuzzy line.
But we plan on doing parcels, right?
I don't know
That's part of
why.
it.
That's just a zoning map.
Yeah, correct. I don't know why you would put parcels on a character area map, because, again, it's designed to guide growth, but the economy, infrastructure, many things will guide that growth, and it won't follow that a perfect line. But it's general areas, and then there'll be transition zones between those areas.
You don't want to create an island outside of that character area that say it's 3 miles down the road, but it really should be in that character area, when it doesn't have the infrastructure to get there.
Well, I say that because if you've got somebody who is looking at a piece of paper with the character area, and we allow one that really is in the green character area, I mean, down the road, will that bite us, you know, for allowing one?
Because in my opinion, might have it separate, because probably 2 parcels up, there'll be one that comes in. You know, that's the reason that maybe would have you saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but again, your objective, the point of zoning is to, keep incompatible uses apart from one another. And so your character area map, just like zoning, is based on uses of property. And so, like, if you say that island, you don't want that island residential use in an industrial or intensive agricultural area.
That's the
Now,
same time
we
it
have
probably
those all over
makes
the
sense.
county, because as I've been saying for 23 years now, God did not create zoning on the same day He created the earth. And you will never get rid of lawful non-conforming lots or uses. But what you will do is guide primarily the uses and secondarily the sizes of lots by making zoning decisions that are consistent with your comp plan.
Further comments or questions on this one? Maybe I got the wrong question. The question number 15. To what extent is the proposed change consistent with Madison County Comprehensive Plan? The answer is no. Or yes? It's just consistent. It's consistent, but from
Let's see.
discussion that I heard here this evening, it sounds like no.
Yeah, I just put somewhat, I mean, I'm sitting here trying to,
Oh, I understand. Not
because
not faulting you for what's on here, but I mean,
yeah.
I mean, since we're
Is this
discussing
the
it,
Hanson that you're talking about?
well, that's what I'm trying to see if I'm on the right one. I may have on the wrong one.
Henson.
It did somewhat.
Just somewhat, okay. What do you mean by somewhat?
Well, I meant that, there's not any around there, but, it is for a residence, and that's basically what.
Goes back to number one question.
Yeah,
Goes back to number one.
right.
It's in between.
I may have answered that incorrectly, but that was my thinking was.
Well, hey, we're all learning through this. That's a part of this.
It's
It's
hard
the
to
process.
determine exactly.
Mike, how would you counsel? She is the first line of defense when somebody is coming in.
Mm-hmm.
This can help set, raise, or lower expectations.
Right.
How should she, and
I would answer the comp plan question purely based on the character area map. If it's on an edge, that might be a somewhat or a potentially or whatever weasel word we want to use there. But existing uses, that's a different question on this list. That's not the comp plan question.
Mm-hmm.
so he said, congratulations.
Did I say no? I should have said no, right?
Well, I hadn't looked at, I don't know, but if this is deep over into an agricultural area,
More challenging.
which I assume it probably is, the land around it, yeah, then that's another,
Nobody
it's not
wants to tell
consistent with the
somebody
comp
kids they can't do something necessarily, and that's what
I
those
see the
type of
face and I hear.
Right, and that's where we
Hard to
wanna be able
leave
to
the human
support you. We don't wanna
factor
put you in a situation where it's good guy, bad guy.
Right.
But unfortunately, when this is filled out, that's where the expectation is not set, but
Right.
can be guided from.
Well, I mean, we
Be
could say,
disappointed and go 60 days into this and
unclear
then not
or
get the anticipated outcome.
And I always do not encourage them to get a survey or do a site plan. I say, don't spend any money on this until you know it's been approved.
Right.
These kind. Now, others, I'll say, yeah, go ahead and get your site plan, because it's, you know, cookie cutter, cut and dry ones. But on these, I've told them just to do a hand-drawn site plan. Not spend that money yet.
With, 15, just so we're all on the same page, in the future, we'll work on it in the office. It'll be yes, no, or unclear if it's on a borderline. If it's unclear and it's that hazy line, it's unclear exactly where that line is. And it'll be yes, no, or unclear.
Okay.
Does that work?
That works.
All right, well, obviously, we're gonna hear from the applicant, and you got 2 weeks to think about. Put your face in here, but any further questions? Not, we'll move on to number 9.
Okay. All right, my note there. All right, number 9 is Roger Warren, and he is requesting to rezone his 6.02 acres from A1 to AR to bring the property into compliance with zoning regulations and to allow a second home on the property for his fund as an accessory dwelling unit. Property is located at 278 Bridlewood Trail in Hull on map 14, parcel 72-01 in District 1. And right now it's a non-conforming A1 due to the acreage size of being 6.02 acres. Mr. Warren lives on that property and just wants to have his son there. He does not have a desire to split it and just wants it to be there as an accessory dwelling unit.
Well, he can't split it because he doesn't have enough acres to do so.
Right, without going to R1, which I again. And by putting it at AR, it would bring it into compliance.
Any questions on this one, or discussion?
I realize we're still dealing with our existing policy on ADUs, although I wish we would change some things. But with that said, by putting an ADU on a parcel where if someday it were to need to be split because of the, well, whatever reason, sell it, whatever, you couldn't do. Right?
Now to rezone and hope to get at R1, that would be the only way.
Then that's why we had discussed a while back of having a minimum of twice the acreage to accommodate a split if that were to need to come down the
And
pipe.
we do that in
But that's not
all of
enforced now.
the AR.
I guess we gotta go with our existing policy until it's changed.
In A1, you don't have to have that.
Give this check.
Right.
Any further questions on this one? I think that, covers all of our new business. We'll go to number 3, old business. I think at the last one I requested that, Christopher, that you bring us up to date on the dog kennel.
Yes, sir. I went, or for everybody, for you, but everybody, I went to the Georgia Association of Zoning Administrators meeting, and it's a lot of planning directors in all honesty. They removed kennels from our list and instead put in law amendments, and I have a brief overview I was going to share with y'all with some of the upcoming stuff. I did reach back out to GDA, and the state is looking at changing its Animal Care Act. Right now, that is affecting their kennels, companion animal, and equine. So we might see some changes come up this next legislative session as far as the state's mandate on what they consider humane care and what they'll require in kennels coming down to us. And for anybody that's interested in it, Morgan Floyd is our GDA representative for this district. She's actually a Madison County citizen and a very nice young lady. We're in contact almost every day dealing either with kennels or other things of that nature. I did, however, reach out to a few other district planners and things like that. And the information that I received back is you have to be very careful with your residential and your ag, with your kennel requirements, because it may eat into a companion animal. So Oconee County, I think it is, has where you can only have 3 dogs on a parcel unless it's ag.
I don't remember.
I've been reading a lot of them. If it's Oconee, I know it's not Oglethorpe, but it surely starts with an O. They have it where even in a residential area, you can only have 3 dogs on your property. Doesn't matter if it's a large residential property or a small, you can only have 3 dogs. And then when they reach into kennels, they make it into the ag areas. And then they have everything that I've seen, they kept it small. They've maxed their kennel limits, 24, 26 for most of what I can see. And we have looked at kennels 30 plus around here, and that's something that a lot of counties aren't getting or haven't fought against yet, haven't prepped for, like Shakerag, a big fox hunting club, or South Georgia somewhere where they have a large quail hunting club or something like that. They haven't breached it, I think, mainly because of that clientele being a little higher. The only place we're seeing a lot of puppy mills, according to one member of GMA, was around the cities, is where they're seeing it, around Atlanta, around Macon, Augusta. They left out Savannah, but they didn't include Columbus, where they're seeing the population boom. There's people, puppy mills, I don't know a better way of saying it, commercial farms, but puppy mills building up all over the place because that's where they're selling them. And it's just coming closer and closer out to us as municipalities step in on it within the city limits. And now the research is going to how cities are limiting the puppy mills, essentially what we would consider commercial dog raising, for lack of a better term, because other counties haven't even looked into it. The cities have, but the counties haven't. So I'm trying to carry over some Unicode searches for how they're dealing with a large kennel that I think we just call commercial kennel at this point. But it was kind of strange to see how it's the cities taking on the puppy mills and not the ag counties as well. But that's what I was able to glean from the meeting along with the rest of our research as far as kennels go.
Questions for Chris on this? So we're still kind of in the research phase, or do we need to do anything different?
I've started pulling some ideas together. It's nothing firm yet because of that information I did get from the Gaza meeting and everything. I want to look into some municipalities and see how they did handle these. Like, what was the one that came before us? It was like 200 dogs, give or take. We have yet to have somebody come before us and us approve it or put any conditions or any type of regulation on anything really over like 30 dogs. But in my opinion, what I'm going to bring forward is, once you get over that 30 dog limit, it's kind of like going from backyard chickens, having eggs, to having a chicken house full of laying hens,
Or 3 dogs.
Or 3 dogs, yeah. 3 to 30 to 300, I guess is.
So I'm not sure there's any requirement that you have to accommodate these large operations at all. They could simply not be permitted under this county zoning ordinances. Now, before I firmly go behind that, I probably, if it were me, I would reach out to this university law professor who came and spoke, who has, her job is researching these things, so she knows the global picture.
And at the end of this month, after my Gates conference, I have an appointment set up with her.
Excellent.
And she came and talked to us. I can't remember the man's name at Valhalla. It's not Valhalla, but I think the guy. He's got a kennel, he trains dogs.
Oh, he's
Department of Homeland
trains the military dogs.
Yeah, he trains some military dogs. I'm trying to get all of us together at Shake Rag and to talk about, okay, this is a large one. Do y'all think this is a different level than what y'all do and have UGA come in? So we're gonna go to the largest one we have in the county with one of our best professional dog raisers in the county and with the University of Georgia professor, and to take my guideline and to actually help whittle out what doesn't need to be there, what other counties have done, and to see what that is.
So in other words, if we set these limits on dogs and set conditions on how to run them, if they adopt something to the state, we'd have to change it, right? Or
If it was through the state planning and
oversee
zoning.
us.
Yeah.
No matter what guidelines we put on conditions, if it's state can enforce it more stricter if ours is not, right?
Yes, sir. That's the reason why I strongly think in the ordinance we should have, if you come and you get a kennel, conditional use from the county, that you be required to register with the state. So that helps. You know, the oversight, so to say, especially with mortality or just flat out following the rules, biosecurity measures, things of that nature, kind of raising a good quality product. Same thing we do in a chicken house, a situation, or a slaughter facility. But it would be so minute, I think, in what the difference would be from the state to the county would be in terms of living space, where the state says a dog, you can raise a dog, keep a dog in a kennel, so long as it can turn all the way around in its tail, not touch the edge in its nose. So the kennel's got to be wider than the dog is long, and the dog has to be able to stand up. That's what the state requires, minimum. So if somebody's not doing that, they're going to get them for animal cruelty.
What happened to the kennel that we denied?
It's an ongoing court case that I'm not at liberty to talk about, especially on public record.
Oh.
I think
Does Oconee County allow kennels?
yes, sir, they do. And it's a objective case at this point. I think it's pulled up on the 16.
Well, yeah, I don't think the housing on the code is right here.
I guess my question is, have we looked at what they're?
Yes, sir. They are one of the more concise that's in our district to us. Jackson County, Banks County really don't say anything new. And Athens, Clark County is a totally different beast. I don't look at them for a lot of the zoning. Morgan County, you just have to be in an ag zone in Morgan County. Sorry, trying to bring them all up in my head. Walton County had a strict ordinance as well. I've got them all on my desk, but none of them went, like the max dogs were like 24 to 26, somewhere in there, for what they would allow before a kennel.
Nobody allows over 50 dogs in the area.
In our area.
Not even Clark. Oh, well, you said you didn't look at Clark.
No, but the University of Georgia throws a lot of that information out, because they use Clark for a lot of their close studies and everything. Unless it's an animal hospital or something like that, then they, you know, however many kennels they have, it's how many animals they can hold on the premises. So that's getting into a medical registry and all that other fluff.
At what point does this, I know the BOC is looking at the dog catcher. Is code enforcement would just be responsible for the kennel situation? As far as if there were a set number of dogs that were allowed, that would be code enforcement on something like that? It would be separate from the dog catcher, and where does?
It'd really be both. If it was set up the way I would like it to be set up, the two would work together, hand in hand. Because if you get an animal call, you know, the dog catcher would go out, the animal control officer would go out, And then if it was a zoning code, or if he showed up somewhere and it's like, hey, there's 50, I don't know, labradoodles or something. You know, I think something's a little off, can we check the code? And then they work together because it would be in.
Exactly, code for, yeah, code. For example, I just found it, Oconee County, for a breeding kennel, this is Oconee. The minimum lot size shall be 2 acres, and the number of animals maintained as breeding stock shall not exceed 4. So your animal control ordinance is not going to address that, but animal control might get a call because there's a dog loose, a dog's bitten somebody, and they go out and they see, hey, I see 6 breeding dogs here, and this lot looks awfully small. Then they call zoning, and it may end up being a prosecution for the zoning violation.
Gotcha. I know that they're wrestling with that at the same time.
Right.
Trying not to be mutually exclusive, since there does seem to be a bleed over here.
Right.
To make sure we're communicating between the two, that it's comprehensive as opposed to two separate entities.
Exactly. Building inspection has the same function as zoning a lot of times. Actually, tax assessor's office reports a lot of what because they have to go out and appraise properties. They know enough about zoning to let these folks know, hey, you meet with your, look at this.
The one that I read for Oconee County, and I might have looked at an old one, I guess, was 24 breeding dogs, no more than 6 studs.
Yeah, I don't know what the amendment date is.
But some of them regulate it just, okay, you can have this many dogs, but you can't have more than this breeding males or this many females.
So it's still a work in progress.
Very much so. Very much so.
All right, any
There
further
was
questions?
there was a moratorium put on this as far as council is concerned, right? During the council. What kind of deadline are we aiming at?
First of the year.
January 1st.
Yeah. Which just might be the same time animal controls popped up. I don't know that for sure, but I'm trying for everything to go hand in hand. I did want to share some information, if it's all right, Chairman, that I received at the training with the board. A lot of it was legal, like a day and a half was full legal. Bills that have passed and failed that'll be coming back up with zoning matters. One of them was ADUs that came up, where the state's looking at forcing them onto counties and making a state guideline for ADUs was one. A bill that failed to pass in the Senate, but it's going to be heard at the next legislative session in the House. They may edit it back and forth, but there was conversation about ADUs, and one of the big conversations that came up, and it wasn't anywhere near us, by the way, it's somewhere down around Moultrie. They made their ADUs a conditional use. So they didn't put an acreage size on it. They just said, all right, like some of them tonight, well, I don't have enough acres to put an ADU on, but I want my daughter to live on it or something like that. Is it right for that area, or are we looking at the other one? If you want to rezone it for an ADU in the future, it may get split. And apparently there were a lot of people down in the southwest corner of Georgia that have called on to ADUs being a conditional use. I don't know if that would work for us or anything, but I wanted to throw it out there since it's been a hot button topic, so to say. Another one was multi-generational housing. Somebody, instead of an ADU, adds onto their house, and it's like a parent and a grandparent is what I was set up with. It doesn't make it a two-family dwelling or a duplex. They still have 911 address, but addressing multi-generational housing was an idea that was discussed. And then affordable housing came up. We were told by, too many C's in it, GACC.
Oh, ACCG?
ACCG, and GMA said the correct term to use in the state of Georgia, at least on the hill underneath the Gold Dome, is attainable housing. attainable housing, right now, home costs in the state of Georgia average $450,000 across the state. In our area, I was able to get them to look it up. The average house for our region, the Northeast Georgia region, is $369,000 to $380 something. I can't remember, 81, 82, somewhere in there. But that's what our median housing was. And GMA, Georgia Municipal Authorities Association, if you go to their website and ask them for our county, our area, they'll pop out as much information as y'all want. By the way, that they have available to them, but they had graphs and scales and 3 people pointing and going all at the same time. The average cost of a home in the state of Georgia for Northeast Georgia is up 136.5% from 2003 to 2023, because they look at them in 20-year increments. Now, they can, if you ask them, if somebody goes in and specifically ask them from month to month, they'll even see what the homes are doing month to month. It was some interesting information to be given out, but we're ahead of the game actually in Madison County compared to a lot of counties and a lot of municipalities. We spent the entire last day, and it was a half day, but we spent the entire last session just talking about a quasi-judicial system versus a legislative decisions, and we've already taken care of that in Madison County. And that's what I was telling Mike earlier, is compared to a lot of counties, it feels like there's a lot going on in this room and with zoning, but other counties are coming up to us. How do y'all view this? How do you get there? You know, what study did you use? And I'm like Carl Vincent, reaching out, having meetings between the BOC and the P&Z boards where there's a clear understanding. There's so many counties that are nowhere near our level, but have funds out the wazoo and have no idea how to get to where we are now. It was really amazing. So I know it feels like we're picking pieces of gravel and rock trying to move Stone Mountain, but a lot of folks are looking at us. Right now, we're definitely on a positive track. But that's all I had to share from the meeting.
All right, any questions for this? Not, you got a motion to adjourn? I got a motion to adjourn. All in favor? We're adjourned. Don't let this bother your vacation.
I'm not, I've turned it off, I'm headed out.
No, I'm just wondering, I mean,
I did.